All right. And then you can just slowly open up your eyes and come back into the room. And my name is Karen Ani, and I am going to just share, Lou asked me to share a funny story of mine. And, it's funny because I'm like, I don't know, I'm looking back, do I have anything funny that happened to me? You can't think. And then Lou said to me, what about the story about the guy upstairs? And I said, oh. So I live in a 3-floor apartment building, and I live on the 2nd floor. And about 2 years ago, I moved from the one side of the building. I had a guy underneath who smoked. And I used to do yoga every morning, and I used to get this big whiff of smoke, and I said to myself, this is ridiculous. I mean, I'm doing yoga, and I'm smelling smoke. It's kind of ironic. And the apartment across the hall from me opened up, and I said, you know what, I'm going to call and see if I can just move across the hall. This is going to be great. And that apartment ended up having like a porch. I had outside porch, and I said, okay, the universe this is great. So they said yes. I started moving across the hall. And, I heard this little twinge went off, but the guy upstairs, I just heard this music, upstairs. And I didn't think twice, but something went off, and I said, well, that's a little loud, but, So I moved in, and, within a couple days, I realized this guy upstairs doesn't stop talking. I can't explain it. It's like he's just talk. He's on the phone, and he's talking, and he's going back and forth. And then every once in a great while, I'd hear this big whoosh across the floor upstairs. It sounded like he had a wild animal up there. So I'm saying, okay, obviously there's something going on here. I said, I know, I do yoga. I've been doing yoga for 20 years, meditate, qigong. I'm going to handle this. I'm going to get to know this guy. I'm going to get to know him, and I'm just going to casually bring up that he's loud. I'm going to do this in a civil way. So, a couple, days and weeks go by, and I see him up on the porch. I'm getting out of my car, and I see him upstairs. And I said, perfect opportunity. I see him upstairs. I'm like, oh, hi. My name is Karen, and his name is John. And I said, it's great to meet you, and my name, I'm living underneath you, and this and that. I'm not going to bring it up yet. I'm saying to myself, let me get to know him a little bit, So, getting to know each other, I said, okay, my plan, this is going to be good, And then I meet his wife. He has a wife. And I couldn't believe it because I never hear the wife. And you would think it's the opposite. So it goes on, and I met him a couple times in the hall, and okay, now my chance. I took the garbage out one day, and I see him up there. I said, okay, because now I'm getting a little crazy because it's almost every day. I don't know if he works. I don't know what's going on. I mean, it's just constant. Thank you. That's coming. So, I was going to title this talk, "How I Became the Crazy Woman with the Broom." And so I said, okay, I think I got it now. I see him, and I said to him. So I'm talking to him. I'm downstairs, and he's on the porch, and he's leaning over, and then I see the cat. He goes, oh, this is my cat. He's unusually big. He's like 40 pounds or something. I'm like, oh. And I'm like, okay, that's what's going across the... So I said, okay. I said, John, listen, by the way, I don't know if you know this or not, but sometimes when you're on the phone, I can hear every single thing that you say on the phone. I said, I understand you live on the top floor, and maybe you don't realize... I get it. I'm getting it that you don't hear, me underneath there. And he goes, oh, sometimes I can be loud. I said, oh, yeah, well, that's all right. I said, I understand. So I go back in. I'm like, settled. This is going to be great. From now on, it's going to be clear sailing. Boy, was that, I am just, the yoga person. I can do this, A couple days later, loud music. It was like, by now it was like 9:30. And I said, okay, and I'm like, I can't believe this. I said, okay. But finally I said, I have to go upstairs. And Lou was on the phone actually. He's like, just go up and say something. I'm like, okay. So I go upstairs and I knock on the door and he doesn't answer, and I have to pound on the door. Finally he gets to the thing and he opens it. I couldn't believe how loud it was. And he goes, oh, I fell asleep. I said, well, I said, it's loud. He goes, okay, I'm going to, So I said, okay, I'm walking downstairs. I said, that's going to be really it. I mean, come on, now you're really mindful. So I'm going on, and a couple days later, I'm talking, this is a course of 2 years, and this is up to this moment here. So finally, one day I said to myself, I get it. I got to meditate on this. I got to send him love. That's it. I am going to sit, and I am just going to think of big hearts, and I'm going to be sending them up to him, and this is going to work. I get it now. The universe is telling me I've got to be able to sit with this, and this is it. So I'm sitting there, and he's up there, and he's going back and forth, and I'm okay, sending love, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I was like, shut the fuck up. And I yelled it, and I just said, who was this person who just did that? I couldn't believe it, but he didn't really hear me. I mean, I kind of said it loud. I'm not one to really shout, and it just came out, and I'm like, okay, all right, this is okay, all right. So, a month later or whatever, I was talking to Lou, and Lou said, well, why don't you just get the broom and, hit the ceiling? And I said, that's not me. I am not the kind of person who hits the, more communication or something. This is going to work. And I tell you, it's like Groundhog Day. I almost felt like it was Groundhog Day, because every day I would wake up and I would be praying, please go out today. Please take your wife out, And, it was Friday night, Saturday night. Please go out tonight. I'll give you money, I mean, this is like, I'm getting crazy. And now I'm thinking, maybe I would rather die with the cigarette smoke than just go crazy, So finally, blah, blah, blah. A couple days, weeks and months later, I'm sitting there on my couch, and he's going back and forth. I don't know what he talks about. Honestly, I'm like laughing. I'm like, what can you possibly be talking about? Back and forth. Finally, I go into the kitchen, I grab the broom, and I'm like, I couldn't believe it. I became this woman, this crazy woman with a broom. And I said to myself, wow, when did that happen? And silence. He just went silent. I think he was like shocked, because I think he was, wow, I mean, I have a yogi down there. She's not going to do anything. And I became this boom, and then silence. And again, I said to myself, this is going to be it now, because he's, that's it. A couple days later, he's still the noise. And I'm saying to myself, okay, I am fighting a losing battle. There's light at the end of the tunnel here, I'm sure. There's an awakening here or something. So finally, I say to myself, what's the answer here? Obviously, I feel like I'm putting a square peg inside of a circle, And I think the answer is it's time for me to move, I mean, what else can I do? I mean, I've tried to reason, I've tried to be nice, I've tried to, and I don't want to be the crazy one with the broom constantly. So the more, it's just ironic. I just find it ironic. You think you're just, I pride myself in being just this mellow, I can handle anything, but you get tested. You get tested. So that's the end of my story. And I don't know. I'll probably be moving soon. I don't know what the answer is. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Lou Longmire, and he's going to finish off his service here. Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, America's Got Talent. Thank you. Well, by the way, before I get started here, I want to tell you a brief story. I'm going to tell you a brief story, but before I do that, I have to finish Karen's story. Because she's a coward, she didn't get to the best part, which is why I wanted her to tell the story in the first place. The broom hitting the ceiling, getting the guy upstairs to quiet down. She did it. She kept doing it. I was on the phone with her, and we're chatting, and I heard her go, boom, boom, boom. Well, last week I went over to Karen's house, and about 6 o'clock in the morning, she and I were frolicking. And I heard this coming from upstairs. That's the end of the story. Good night, everybody.